Amidst the deafening roars of alien spectators, the beast known as the Chimera escaped its restraints. As chaos erupted, the arena's massive screens flickered and went dark, only to light up with an urgent message. All channels. Priority 1 human intervention required immediately. The Galaxion Arena, a colossal structure of steel and shimmering lights, had never known silence until now. In a heart-stopping moment, the Chimera Beast shattered its confines. Alarms wailed a discordant symphony as the once rapt audience transformed into a frenzied swarm, their cries echoing through the expansive structure. Amid the chaos, the arena's central command room buzzed with frantic activity. Operators scrambled to manage the crisis, their voices a cacophony of panic and orders. Visuals on screen 3. "Where is it now?" barked the head of security, Marek, his eyes darting across the monitors. "It's breached the eastern wing, heading towards the main concourse," replied an operator, her hands flying over the controls. On the other side of the galaxy, in a modest living quarters station, Elijah Marks watched the live feed with a strategist calm, his mind racing. The decorated ex-commander, known for turning the tide of the Titan Wars with nothing but wit and audacity, sensed the desperation seeping through the screen. His communicator beeped insistently. "Elijah, you're seeing this?" came the urgent voice of General Tarn, now overseeing security for the arena. "Yes, I've got eyes on it. Looks like your beast didn't fancy its cage," Elijah responded dryly. "We need you, Elijah. None of our protocols are working." "It's like it's learning and adapting by the second," Tarn pleaded. A sigh escaped Elijah, heavy with the weight of retirement's piece he'd be leaving behind. "Sending coordinates." "Get here, now," Tarn added before ending the call. Upon arriving at the arena, the scale of pandemonium struck Elijah fully. The air vibrated with terror, the metallic scent of fear permeating the environment. Guided through the back corridors, he was ushered into a makeshift command center, buzzing less with panic and more with purpose. Marek greeted him with a firm nod. "Captain Marks, thank you for it." "Skip the pleasantries, Marek. What's the situation?" Elijah cut in, his gaze fixed on the live feeds displaying the creature's havoc. "It's worse than we feared. It's intelligent, not just a mindless beast. It anticipates and counters every move we make," Marek explained, pointing to a screen where the beast dodged a tranquilizer dart with almost prescient awareness. Elijah's eyes narrowed as he watched the beast move. "You're playing checkers, Marek. Let's introduce it to chess," he said, stepping closer to analyze the feeds. "Chess?" Marek frowned, puzzled. "Psychological maneuvers. It's time we got into its head instead of trying to corner it physically," Elijah elaborated, his mind already threading through potential strategies. "Sounds risky," Marek commented, skepticism laced in his tone. "Less risky than letting that thing turn this place into its playground. Show me all entry and exit points it used. I want every piece of data you have on its movements and behaviors," Elijah instructed, turning to the operators who quickly nodded and gathered the required information. As the data streamed in, Elijah's plan began to take shape, a dangerous blend of holographic misdirection and a maze of safe zones, turning the arena into a giant chessboard. "Prepare to recalibrate the holographic projectors. We're not just going to trap it, we're going to lead it exactly where we want it," Elijah directed, his voice carrying a newfound authority that seemed to settle the nerves around him. Inside the makeshift command center, the air crackled with tense anticipation as Elijah set his plan into motion. He stood before a holographic display of the arena, his fingers tracing paths invisible to others but clear as day in his mind's eye. Here, Elijah pointed to a junction of corridors on the map. "We'll make our first stand here. Marek, can we rig the holograms to create a labyrinth of false exits?" Marek nodded and motioned to a technician. Adjust projector angles to create overlapping fields here, here, and here. Elijah's gaze was firm, his voice steady. Remember, the Chimera reacts to stimuli with alarming speed. Our illusions must be convincing, dynamic, not static images it can easily dismiss. The technicians busied themselves, recalibrating the systems. Meanwhile, Elijah pulled up data on the beast's previous encounters. Watching clips of its movements, he noted each reaction to various threats and barriers. "See this?" Elijah asked, pausing a frame where the Chimera hesitated at a shadow. "It's cautious of unknown elements that change dynamically. We use that. Our holograms must not only block its path, but also evolve, responding to its actions as if they were real threats." A junior operator piped up. "Could we integrate sonic elements, sir? Disorienting sounds corresponding to the visual changes?" "Excellent idea," Elijah approved. "Layer the sensory inputs. Keep it guessing, off balance." As the arena's sophisticated network of projectors and speakers came to life, a symphony of light and sound began to test the very limits of the tech. Elijah oversaw the final checks, his presence a calming force amid the storm of activity. "Initial projections are ready," Merrick announced. The room dimmed momentarily as the first test of their deceptive maze activated on the screens. "Let's see it then," Elijah commanded. The holograms flickered to life, creating a bewildering maze of corridors and dead ends. Shadows loomed, twisted, and turned, while dissonant chords played, echoing through the simulated environment. "Time to bait our trap," Elijah said, his eyes reflecting the holographic light. He grabbed the comms unit, deployed the drone, lead it into Sector 7. Outside, in the labyrinthine guts of the arena, a small drone hummed to life, emitting a low-frequency pulse known to attract the Chimera. As it moved, the walls around it shimmered with phantom threats, growling beasts and collapsing walls, all crafted from light and sound. The command center watched through the drone's camera as the Chimera entered the holographic trap. It paused, its body coiling like a dark spring, then lunged at a phantom that dissipated upon contact. Confusion was evident in its movements as it encountered one illusion after another. "Adjust intensity." "It's not buying it," Elijah instructed quickly. The holograms shifted, the illusions becoming more aggressive, more chaotic. Suddenly, the beast roared, a sound that shook the very foundations of the arena, its frustration palpable. It charged forward, barreling through illusions as if realizing its senses were being played. "Hold steady," Elijah murmured, watching as the Chimera approached the heart of the maze. "Now, switch to Phase 2. Real barriers." At his command, physical gates dropped down with heavy thuds, funneling the now enraged creature along a predetermined path that led directly into a reinforced containment chamber. "Close it." Elijah's voice rang out as the Chimera, realizing too late its error, turned at the last moment. In the subdued lighting of the command center, Elijah, his face a mask of concentration, analyzed the containment chamber's security feeds. The Chimera Beast paced restlessly, its eyes reflecting a cunning intelligence that belied its ferocious exterior. "Containment is temporary," Elijah stated, his voice carrying a weight that sobered the lingering relief in the room. "It's learning, adapting. What worked today may not hold tomorrow." Marek, leaning over a console, flicked through data screens, his brow furrowed. "So, what's next?" "We can't keep it here indefinitely. We need a permanent solution," Elijah replied, turning to face the team. "A way to neutralize its adaptive capabilities without harm." A young engineer, Lena, suggested, "What about using a neural inhibitor? Disrupt its ability to process and adapt temporarily?" Elijah nodded appreciatively. "Good thought, Lena. But timing and precision are crucial." We need it to be just disoriented enough to not resist restraints permanently. The team set to work, devising a plan to integrate a neural inhibitor into the Chimera's environment. They proposed a secondary layer of holographic displays, this time designed to calibrate with the neural inhibitor, creating a synchronized assault on the creature's senses. Preparation is key, Elijah reminded everyone as they finalized the integration. Every second counts. The moment it shows signs of distress, we activate the inhibitor. The plan was set into motion. As the holograms danced their deceptive ballet around the Chimera, the neural inhibitor was discreetly positioned to emit its pulse at Elijah's command. The beast, now wary of the illusions, paused at each flicker and shadow, its instincts on high alert. It sensed the trap, its growls low and menacing, echoing through the chamber's speakers. "Now, Lena," Elijah said, his hand hovering over the activation button. As the creature lunged at another illusion, he pressed down, and a subtle wave of electromagnetic energy pulsed through the chamber. The effect was instantaneous. The Chimera staggered, its movements sluggish. Confusion flashed across its fierce eyes as it struggled against the sudden disorientation. "Stabilize the inhibitor. Keep it at minimal effective dose," Elijah instructed, monitoring the creature's reactions closely. "We want it disoriented, not incapacitated." As the Chimera slowly regained its bearings, the team adjusted the inhibitor settings, fine-tuning the balance between disorientation and alertness. This delicate dance of technology kept the creature manageable while they reinforced the physical barriers around it. Marek, watching the screens intently, let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "It's working, Elijah. It's actually working." Elijah, though relieved, kept his gaze fixed on the creature. "For now," he replied, "we keep monitoring, keep adjusting. This isn't a victory, it's a reprieve." As the team continued their vigil, the command center became a quiet hub of focused activity. Every member knew their role, each one crucial to maintaining the fragile balance they had achieved. The lights of the command center cast long shadows, mirroring the somber mood within as Elijah watched the subdued Chimera through the security feed. The beast, its once frenetic energy dampened by the neural inhibitor, lay motionless, a stark reminder of the day's trials. "Elijah, the ethics committee is ready for you," Marek announced, breaking the contemplative silence. Nodding, Elijah turned away from the screen, his mind awash with the day's events and the moral questions they posed. He walked through the sterile corridors to the meeting room where faces, both human and alien, awaited him. Their expressions were a mix of relief and concern, reflecting the gravity of the situation. "As you all know," Elijah began, standing at the head of the table, "today we managed to contain a creature that was designed to be uncontrollable. We've used technology and strategy, but now we need to decide what comes next." A murmur of agreement passed around the room. Elijah continued, "We've proven that it's possible to manage the creature without harm. Now, we must discuss its future and ours." Dr. Lena, a renowned xenobiologist, leaned forward. "Elijah is right. We need to reassess not just how we manage such creatures, but how we create them. The risks are too great." The discussion that followed was intense and varied. Ideas were debated, from reforming genetic experimentation laws to establishing a sanctuary where the Chimera could exist without posing a threat. Elijah listened, occasionally steering the conversation when it veered off course, his experience as a strategist as applicable here as it had been in the containment chamber. Finally, the committee reached a consensus. The creation of high-risk predatory creatures for entertainment was to be halted, pending a full review. The Chimera would be transferred to a newly established research and conservation area designed not only to contain, but also to study and possibly rehabilitate such beings. "Let this be our first step towards responsible stewardship of the life we create," Elijah concluded, marking the end of the session. As the members filed out, Marek approached Elijah, his expression earnest. "You did good today, not just tactically but ethically. It's a rare combination." Elijah managed a small smile. "We did good, Marek. Keep me informed about the Chimera's transfer and the Sanctuary's progress." "Will do, Captain," Marek replied, saluting lightly as Elijah left the room. Walking back to his quarters, Elijah felt the weight of the day lifting slightly. The decisions made would shape the future, hopefully for the better. He pondered the creature's fate, its unwitting role in galactic politics and human ethics, a pawn that became a king in its own right on the chessboard of interstellar relations. As he gazed out at the stars from his window, a sense of peace settled over him. The universe was vast, filled with wonders and horrors in equal measure, but today they had tipped the balance slightly towards wonder. His communicator beeped a message from General Tarn, confirming the initial funding approval for the sanctuary. Elijah stepped aside, allowing his team the space to work, his thoughts turning to the future. The ethical implications of their actions weighed heavily on him. Yes, they had contained the beast, perhaps even neutralized the immediate threat. But at what cost? And for how long? "Marek, once we're stable here, we need to start talking about a long-term solution. This," he gestured to the screens, "isn't the end of it. We need to think about what's best for this creature and what's right."